I sense the people of the West are increasingly unhappy, rattling with antidepressants and anxieties of one sort or another. What say you?
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen mental health problems explode over the last few decades for a whole number of reasons. It's very complex. There's no one single cause. But, you know, when you look at the mental health of young people in particular, it's just gone, you know, hugely downhill over the last few decades. And it's very concerning. And, of course, there are many things in society which we could be doing to help, but we're refusing to do because it might be politically inconvenient or whatever reasons. And in some ways, we're making it much, much worse.
What would those things be that could readily improve the situation?
So I think, you know, social media is a hugely important contributing factor, and limiting young people's access to social media. I don't know exactly how to do that, but, you know, clearly giving them smartphones when they're 5 years old and telling them to go on Instagram is not going to help very much. And then, you know, as we're here to talk about today, there's this issue where instead of trying to solve those problems and figure out solutions to mental health difficulties, we're basically telling them to give up. We're basically saying, if your life's that bad, actually, maybe you should kill yourself. And so, yeah, very concerning.
Which is absolutely, I mean, that's antithetical. Yeah. That's against the human species. If you're encouraging people who are going through a bad patch just to take an injection or a pill and call it quits, where are we as a species?
It's literally inhumane, isn't it? I mean, it's literally, as you say, saying to people, your life is not worth it, you as a human being are not worth it, just kill yourself. Whether you're a bit unhappy or very unhappy, or, as in the case in Canada, poor. I mean, Canada's gone bananas on...
Or in the Netherlands, autistic. What moral, ethical justification is there for that?
I don't think there really is any good justification. I mean, what you normally find with euthanasia is either you go the whole way and just say anyone who wants to kill themselves can kill themselves, and that's completely fine. And, of course, you know, some people think that's OK because it's about autonomy. So they say, if you want to kill yourself, kill yourself. Now, I've worked in psychiatry. I know that when people try to commit suicide, we can usually help them, and that's, of course, the humane thing to do. We wouldn't even dream, I think, in most settings, to encourage them and say that's the right choice, go ahead. And yet there's this huge move in society, increasingly in the medical profession, to say, actually, it is that bad. And now, you mentioned the issue of disability. The alternative to just saying anyone can kill themselves is to set up a sort of two-tier system, a sort of class system, where we say to the people who are healthy or who don't have a terminal disability or whatever, actually, your life is worth preserving and you shouldn't be allowed to kill yourself because your life is worth it. But if you have a disability, if you're autistic, maybe if you have Down syndrome, you have a learning difficulty, actually, in that case, you should kill yourself. That really is the reality. They won't say it like that, but that is what we're seeing in places like Canada, Netherlands, Belgium, all over. And
you cannot help but invoke the notion of eugenics, that you are, one way or another, suggesting that there's a desirable human being and an undesirable human being, and that we should winnow the one away from the other.
Absolutely. I mean, I didn't want to say it first, but since you mentioned it, it's, you know, in a world where we're so acutely hypersensitive to Nazism, and, you know, you get called a Nazi just for believing in biology these days, what's remarkable is that when there are actually things that literally are what the Nazis did, like killing disabled people, you know, people are all for it. I mean, not everyone's for it, certainly. Most palliative care doctors, I think 90% are against euthanasia. So there's significant resistance within many parts of society, particularly the medical profession. But, like you say, you know, one of the ways the Nazis desensitized themselves to the ending of human life was they started with disabled people. They had a huge euthanasia campaign. And it was precisely because of that that we brought in this human rights framework that says everyone has the right to life, which must be protected.
In an increasingly secular, atheist Western society, do you think wokeism is becoming a kind of a parasite zombie alternative to religion, something for people to obey and potentially worship?
I think so. I mean, it has all the hallmarks of religion. You see, in terms of, you know, the taboos, the stigmas, things you're not allowed to say, things that count as blasphemy. You know, we've got rid of blasphemy laws and we've reintroduced hate speech laws, which is basically the same thing with a different God. You know, we have festivals to the religions, we have high priests that you can't criticise, we have, you know, strict rules and regulations that you get cancelled if you sin. I mean, it really is, I think humans are innately religious people. It's just some people worship a supernatural God and some people worship something
an ideology.
in the world. So, yeah, absolutely.
One of my problems